Okay, Peseda, we're up to Siman Lamed Vav Halacha Base. Siman Lamed Vav Halacha Base. We'll finish off this Siman today, and then in Hashem we're going to start this Mishnah Seifrim. Okay, so says the Mechaber. Kol Eis Shrichelias Goylem Echot. Every letter in a Sefer Torah, in a mezuzah, in Tefillin, has got to be one whole entity. It can't be breaks in the letter. So, for example, the Aleph, we know the Aleph is a Vav and a Yud and another Yud. So it can't be detached. It's always got to be connected. It's got to be one goylem, one blob, one entity. Kol Eisrichel Yos Goylem Echad Lekach Tzarich Liyos B'Nekuda She'al HaAleph Shehi Kamin Yud U'B'Nekuda She'Tachteha. So if you take a look, this is the best to show you in the picture. It's best described. If you take a look, Eli 261. Box number 1, so in box number 4, sorry. So you can see the Aleph, the Aleph is made up of a Vav, and then an Aleph, and then a Yud over there, and a Yud over there. So there can't be any breaks between the Yud and the central Vav, and the Yud at the bottom as well. It's got to be one whole thing. So, therefore, says the Mechaber, Kol Ois Shrichel Yos Goylem Echad, one entity, V'kach Tzarich Liyos B'Nekuda She'al HaAleph, the little dot on top of the Aleph, Shehi Kamin Yud, which is like a Yud, of an Nekuda She'Tachteha, and the Yud underneath it. It's got to be connected to the central Vav of that letter. Of a Yudei Hashin, if you think about the Shin is basically, you've got 3 Yudin over there. Can you see the Shin? It's got 3 Yudin on top of it. So again, it's got to be connected, and it can't be disconnected in any way. Right? So too, that's what it means. The Yud on the Shin, the Ayin as well. The Ayin, it's like a Vav, then there's like a bit of, and there's a Yud there, it's got to be connected. Tzadi. The Tzadi is also like a Nun, with a little Yud coming out of it. So that's all got to be connected. It's got to be connected to the central part of the letter. And if it's not connected, Apostle. And so too with other letters. The only 2 exceptions, of course, are the hey and the kuf, because there the legs have got to be disconnected, and on the contrary, if it's connected, then it's possible. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah, base. Hashin v'ayin b'chol haroshim, with all the strands coming out of it. Uva'achas pirush afilu b'yud echad min hashin. Even though the shin's got 3 yuds coming out of it, even if one of them is disconnected, or if there's a break in the middle of the letter, then that makes it possible. She'ein negas afilu im hapirut hurak she'ein pridosa nikel hed ivdak. Even if it's a very slight disconnect, a slight gap, she'ein pridosa nikel hed, it's not very recognizable. Still, that's a problem. Now here it's not going to help you to call the child to read it for you, because I can see that it's a shin. So there's not. I don't bring the child to read it to me if I'm not sure what the letter is. If it's not clear, does it look like a shin, an aleph, an ayin, or whatever it may be? But here it's not a problem. I know it's a shin. It's just that there's a gap. Maybe it looks like a different letter. That's when the child's reading is going to help me. And that's all without any repair. And then, if you're going to repair it, it's going to help you that it's not going to be shaloi kasidron if the child is able to read it. Like we said previously in similar base, etc. Now, regarding the yud, which is behind the tzadi, im nira yud v'nun v'chol zeh ein chiluk beinim nasa beis haksiva elach haksiva. It doesn't make a difference if the gap happened at the time of writing or later on. Okay, and so too, not just the letters he's mentioned, but any letter. Kagoin, hanakuda shlemata begimel, the nukuda at the bottom of the gimel. Yeah, you can picture you've got the gimel, which is like a zayin, and then you've got the foot coming out. So if there's a disconnect there, or hanakuda shebepei, the bottom part of the pei, or haregel shebetei chatov. In the top, you've got a little foot coming out. Then you've got a problem. This is going on yud. This is now going on the hay and the kuf. If the kuf and the hay, if the leg touches the top, then you've got a problem. she'ein liga or lachatchila yeh hefsek b'chtei she'odem beinani. There should be a gap. That there should be a regular person, Yakirenu Heitev Mela Sefer Torah, the person, when you get the Aliyah and you're looking down, you'll be able to see. Sha'al Gabi Bima Kashul Kaira, a regular person looks at it and he can see, is this connected or not? Gamle Yachiku Yosim Evi Agag, and so too, with the foot of the hay or the kuf, you shouldn't be too far away from the roof. Begag, Vuadina Kuf, Birecha Shabbatzida, and so too, with the right hand leg of the kuf, V'chol Zafilim Nasa Hanagia Achar Ksiv, and this is also true if the kuf, if it touches the roof after it was written, the ink swells a little bit. Even if it's a tiny contact, or commotion is by otherwise there won't be shaloi kasidron. Okay, good. Gimel. Now we know there are things called the tiogim of the letters. Which letters need a little tiag? What is a tiag? So the answer is it's shatnez gates. These are the letters. Yeah, can you see the letters here? Shatnez gates, and you have the little tiag on top of each of those letters. What is the tiag? The tiag is a crown, but you've got 3 vertical lines coming up. So, for example, on the shin, on the left-hand yud of the shin, you've got 3 little things. It's the crown of the letter. So that's what we're talking about in Gimel. So says the Mechaber, tzorich letayeg shatnez gates. You've got to do little tiogim, little crowns on these letters. V'hasoifrim noagu letayeg oisus acheres. Some soifrim have the minhag to crown other letters. V'imlo tiag afilu shatnez gates lo pasin. If you didn't do them, and even the letters which the minhag is to do them, shatnez gates, then it doesn't pasul it if you leave out these crowns. Okay, it says the Mishnah Berurah, letayeg. Afilu b'sefer Torah v'kol shkem b'tfilim mezuzos. V'hatagin ha'elu hem shloisha tagin katanim. There are 3 vertical lines. Eli, can you see them on page 263 in your one, picture 1, yeah? V'dakim kechut hasa'ara. They're very thin vertical lines on top of the letters. Zukufos, straight up. Al elu ha'osios, on these letters. Echod miyamin ve'echod mismal ve'echod memala. 3 vertical lines on these letters. V'yesh over the shloshim memala. They all go upwards. Bavit v'chein nagin. U'ke'ein kav dak hu v'kol tag v'tag. It's like a thin vertical line. Kach nagin be'elu harotzos. That's the minhag in our countries. Lasses kol echod ke'ein tmunas zayin. That you actually make it. It's not just a line, but you make a little dot on top of it. So if you see, I don't know how well you can see it. On the letters shin, for example, you've got 3 vertical lines, but on the top of the vertical line you put a little dot. So it looks like a zayin. So you've got 3 very tiny lines on top of these letters. That's what he's describing. But they're very, very tiny. Yud Gimel, Shatnez gates. Vuadin Sadi Kufufa, not just the when you've got in those letters Tzadi, it's not just the final, the end of Tzadi, it's the regular Tzadi, the Tzadi Kufufa. And when it's Shatnez, the Nun, it's also Nun Peshuta, means the long Nun, the final Nun, the end of Nun. And if the Sefer chooses to put Tagin on letters other than those in the Shatnez gates letters, for chutz me'elam uzkarim b'tur v'levush, and apart from those which are mentioned in the Tur and the Levush, shenagu b'hem ha'seifrim lo yikev. It doesn't. It's not ma'akev. Ach b'tnai shim u'chubarim lois. The main thing is they should be connected to the letter. What's the problem if they're not connected to the letter? So then it looks like you're writing other letters in the klaf. Right? You've got to erase them. Even the letters, even the things that you wrote, Sheb B'Shem HaKodesh, on the Shemesh of Hashem. You shouldn't just suddenly add on little crowns and decorations on letters which are not mentioned in Sfarim. The Tziug Shel Shatnez gates, and the Tziug, or the crown on the letters of Shatnez gates, Hu B'Shin Al Rosh HaShlishi Shel Ha'is. If you look on the shin, it's there are 3 yuds on the top of the shin. It's the left-hand one. Rosh HaShlishi, on the 3rd yud of the Ois, with the ayin of a tes, with tzadi shel Rosh HaSmoli. And on these letters, the ayin, the tes, and the nun, etc., is on the left-hand thing. So if you look at it, these letters, can you see, it will be on the left-hand side, on that part of the letter. And you put it in the middle of that section of that letter. Kosva achrein b'shem tshuvas haruma, sheyizosh hatagin nifrod in kolecha mechaver. That each of the three vertical lines which make the tag should be separate from each other. They shouldn't look like an ayin or a shin. They should look like a zayin, a straight vertical line. And that is ma'akev. The tagin have got to touch the body of the letter. Even though there's no, if you leave out the whole tag itself, it's not ma'akev. Says, by them not touching the actual letter, it's worse. Because it looks like you've inserted a new letter between the lines, and that's not allowed. And the Yad Ephraim writes that you can't, if there's a disconnect between the tag and the top of the letter, you can't just stretch it down and fix it up later. You've got to erase it, and you've got to write the tag from afresh. Unless you know that it was written by a mumcha and he did it properly. And after it was written, it somehow, there was a gap formed with time, some of the ink came away or something. Then the Yad Ephraim would agree that you can repair it by making it connected to the main body of the letter. However, actually, if you knew it was connected originally and then it came away a bit, then actually, according to the Vush, it's kosher and doesn't need any repair. However, if they weren't touching from the outset, then it would help to fix it up. That's from the implication of the Lashon of the Ramah. One should be machmir at the Yad Ephraim to make sure that the tag is connected from the outset, and if you see there's a gap, unless you know it's from a sofer mumcha, you should erase it and do the tag again. Yudalet, Sivkot and Yudalet. Nagu l'tayig. But tefillin over Oisius, he's saying there's some soifrim do other letters. But tefillin Oisius acheres milvadei, apart from the letters of shatner skates. V'heim was karan batur b'shem hamashuta, Rabbi b'shem harambam. Other letters brought in the Torah in the name of the Rambam and the shem hashimusha. Tagin Elohim Taginim Gedolim. These are big tagin. But they're very thin. They're narrow. It shouldn't distort the actual letter they're adorning. You've got to be very careful with the tagin that you put on a taf or a tofon or on a yud. Because there it's very easy to actually change the tzura of that ois. Okay, Sifkot and Tezvov Lei Pasal. We said that if you didn't do the tiag, the Mechaber says it doesn't passel it. Says the Mechaber, v'habach poisel, but the Bach argues and says that not doing the tag is going to passel that letter. V'gam hagrob b'yurim miyashiv l'kol achas min hashittas, or maybe harapoikim poiskim de machmirim b'zeh. Al kain mehanoch ma'od lochosh lezeh. One should be careful with it. And if there's a problem with the tiag, to repair it. The tikkun mahani afidu b'tefillin mezuzos, and the tikkun helps even with tefillin mezuzos. V'lei havik b'zeh shaloi kasidron, and there's not a problem of shaloi kasidron, which we've discussed in the past. The b'lei hatagin nam mitzvah soleh, because without the tiag, the tzura of the ois is still there. V'da'oid da mechaber marish also rosh ois lemala ketukunoi. The rosh, when it says that it doesn't passel it, is when you did it properly. You did the top of the letter straight. It's just that you forgot to do the tiag. But if you did the top of the letter in a circular fashion, then that's a problem because you haven't done the letter formation properly. The tzorchi in l'maisen is therefore it's difficult to know what to do in practice. Because according to the Rambam, you should be makel in all situations. Because the Gemara is talking about tefillin and it's not talking about tefillin, it's talking about just mezuzah. The lolin in igul v'hamshacha, not talking about circular letters or extending it. Achel in tagin mamish rak lechatchila. Kosef igeres hatiul. Shatnus, listen to this, amazing. Why dafka these letters? Shatnus hu oisius soton ayin zayin. V'heim base mekatrugim gedolim. These are the base two big kitrugim, two indictments against Klal Yisrael. V'zeu gam kein soy shel shatnez gates. Ki gates gam kein shem mekatrik echod. V'atagin shalem hein k'mei cherev v'chagnes leitzot sabohem. These tagin on top of these letters are shields and defenses against the Satan and against Avodah Zarah and any kitrugim. Okay.